Teams generating over 100 million plus are not built through luck. They're not built just through great leads. They're built through the right systems. Now, success comes from systems, comes from coaching, and most importantly, it comes from accountability. If you're sitting there as a business owner right now and you think that your team don't know what they're supposed to say, I would be not shocked to say that a lot of businesses don't even have scripts in the first place. They just hire someone and be like, answer the phone. You cannot manage your team if you can't measure your team. Alrighty guys, welcome back to the next episode of the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a very important but exciting step. Now I am by myself today, all by myself. It is going to be a great episode though. We are going to be talking a little bit about your sales team. In particular, how do we get consistently closing high revenue in our company? And specifically, what are the things that are going to prevent us along the way that we can start to identify and put in place that's going to prevent us from being able to become a high closing team? Now, we've obviously ran sales teams for well over the last 8 to 9 years. I've obviously been very heavily involved in sales training. If you haven't followed my story, I've followed around Ryan Tuckwood, who's an amazing sales coach for nearly 3.5 years. And still, today, even 5-6 years later, still a very big part of their events that they do, 1,000-person events, 300 people events. And one of the big things that when we bring a lot of that stuff that they teach in these very advanced psychological sales training event days is that the teams that we generate leads for, when they bring that back into their business and that their sales team are operational, they're not holding their teams accountable at all. They're not doing the basic things I would dare say, across every company we've worked with, 90 to 95%, even higher percent of the businesses aren't following very basic things for their sales team. Now, you could go to ChatGPT right now and go, how do I get a really high performing sales team, right? And not many business owners are doing that. Not many sales managers are doing that. They're not actually, it may not be coming from a care factor, but they're just not putting the things in place that's actually going to be able to drive a much higher revenue team. So that's what we're going to be covering off today. And these are the core things that we're seeing at the moment with the teams that have just come on board with us, that we're managing, we're assisting with them becoming to the next level. These are the things they're currently struggling with and dealing with on that journey of becoming a much better sales team. Now, look, let's preface this before we get too far into it. Teams generating over 100 million plus are not built through luck. They're not built just through great leads. They're built through the right systems. Now, success comes from systems, comes from coaching, and most importantly, it comes from accountability. And that accountability is what we're going to talk a lot about today. Most sales teams fall short and kind of fail due to poor leadership more than anything. So it's not just saying that the leadership's bad, that no one can get results. It's not also saying that if leadership's great, that you're going to get great results. There's a lot of other factors like product and pricing and leads that's going to come into this. But at the end of the day, if you have poor leadership, it's very hard to get that sales team firing on all cylinders. Now, like last, we're going to be really looking into, without the right structure, realistically, how much money is your business leaving on the table if you don't start to make these changes, all right? So let's get into the core problem, why sales teams struggle. Now, the biggest thing with sales teams struggling, and what you got to ask yourself is, what is the reason you're struggling? Now, no team is ever doing all of these things perfectly. They're always evolving. They're always getting better. They're always trying to find that next step up. And you as a sales manager, you as a business owner, you as anyone, even just a salesperson, you can't eliminate all of these things all at once. You've got to work on it and keep refining and picking the thing that you're going to get better at this quarter or this 6 months or this month. But let's jump a little bit further into it. Now, let's get this out of the way. Hiring good people alone doesn't solve the problem of issues, because you can hire a good person into your business and as a salesperson, and bad systems will start to wear that person down if they don't leave already, right? So when we look at that, we've always got to be looking at those systems of, are the systems ready to go? Because hiring the right people isn't going to just get us results. Now, many people receive scripts and targets and they still feel like they're falling short, or they're definitely falling short, because again, just providing someone a script document and some targets is not going to drive them and get them there. That's where accountability comes in. So look, let's jump into the key symptoms. The symptoms of a poorly managed and poorly running sales team: low bookings, missed quotas, frustrated reps, inconsistent revenue. So like if you're feeling any one of those things at the moment, inconsistent revenue is a big one, that it's up and down, or if we've got frustrated reps, then that's where we're starting to really need to understand what are the things we can do from here. Now, if you don't know if you're inconsistent, you don't know if you're missing quotas, then you've got a much bigger issue. You're absolutely going to fall into this category today then, all right? So let's push forward on this then. Now, one of the key things I do want to push out really interestingly is that smaller teams with better systems outperform large teams every single time. So we can get a sales team of 3 people that can outperform 40 or 50 people because they're fucking really efficient with their time, their automations, their system of how they contact leads, and they can pretty much maybe not do the exact same revenue, but from a dollar return point of view for what you have to spend to get that revenue, they're absolutely outperforming it. Now, does that mean that you have to keep a small team to grow? No, you can grow and you can scale, but it's coming down to how you're structuring those systems to get you there, all right? Now, where everyone thinks they need to start, hiring the right people. What actually matters about hiring the right people is looking beyond experience. So you can sit with someone and they, especially in sales, right? They can sell themselves. I've sat with sales managers, I've sat with salespeople that you get off the back of the call and you go, fuck, this guy's gonna kill it. He's gonna do an amazing job. But it's not the case when the tread starts hitting the road and the wheels need to start spinning. Just because they seem like the right person doesn't make the momentum actually come after the fact. So we need to look beyond experience specifically, and we need to start focusing on 5 main metrics. Now, these 5 main metrics are mindset, coachability, resilience, ability to handle pressure, and growth potential. Now, let's break that down a little bit more. Mindset, we need them to be able to bounce back from shit days, shit weeks, and very tough calls. We don't want someone that's going to have that ability to fly up the wall one day and be down the next. And there's certain personality types that are just better salespeople, specifically because they're consistent, just showing up and letting the punches roll with it. You know, they just keep going. Now, coachability. Coachability is obviously one of the most important things. Like you get a great sales manager come in and a salesperson on your team is there and they know it all. It's very tough to pivot as a team, and most of our bigger sales teams, we do pivot. We try different angles and we try to evolve because that keeps us ahead of the curve. But when you have a team that's not coachable, it's like trying to break through a brick wall every time you need to make a small change. And that's something that can really tarnish salespeople. Now, next one, resilience and the ability to handle pressure. Now, these two go hand in hand. Like we really need people that can just keep hitting the punches and rolling with the punches. When we set that KPI of we need you to hit this, because when you put in this much input, you're going to get this many sales out. We need people that can be resilient and just keep putting in the effort and the work that needs to happen there. All right. Now, like your last, growth potential, like someone that's got that mindset of they want to grow and they want to get better. They want to build something bigger than just making sales and showing up to work. That's one of the most valuable things for a salesperson if you can coach them and they've got that growth potential. Because when they can see the bigger picture down the line, there's so much more further coming to want to be able to support and be a part of that team. And these are the things you've got to ask yourself when you're in that interview and you're looking at your sales team. It goes, do I have these things in my team? Like if you really sit back and assess it, are you lying to yourself if you were to say that you do? Now, why this matters. The wrong hires damage culture, pipeline, and team performance. One bad salesperson in a team of great salespeople, even if they're a great salesperson, but bad culturally, will then throw the entire team. Now, I've been in companies before where we have a sales manager come in or a sales team leader come in as such, and they're top salesperson. But they don't let culture continue. And then the culture of all the other people that come in and hit their KPIs and they laugh and they smile and they're happy, that starts to go away. And then you've got people leaving and quitting and people just not really caring anymore. And that's the biggest damager to fluctuations in the team and the turnover rates, is just a bad culture, a bad fit. And then obviously that's going to ebb and flow onto then the team performance overall. Now, lucky last, pipeline. People that don't understand how to manage their pipeline, use the CRM properly, or track their leads. They're some of the things that's going to, really be damaged when you start to get the wrong people in the business, is that you're going to lose a lot of that important stuff that a sales team needs. Now, hiring mistakes cost more time and effort than hiring and taking the time to find the right people. So, if you put the wrong person in, you might have 3 people leave your team very, very quickly. And obviously that's something that you've got to factor in when you're rushing to hire that person and get them involved. If they're not coachable, they're not resilient, they're not got the right mindset, then they're going to mean that you're potentially going to lose the other great people in your team because of that. So let's move on. Train for outcomes, not scripts. Now, this is something that a lot of people fail at profusely, right? Now, they train to read the script, follow the script. Now, that's not going to get you the results you're looking for. What we need is for you to be able to handle what's called the common mistakes, and almost be able to be like a lecturer where they're going to get things thrown at them, but they know how to answer it because they've done the study and they've done the practice. Now, managers hand out scripts and expect results, and that's the common salesperson belief system, is that we're kind of sitting here and going, is the script, follow it, you'll get results. Now, normally that script is taken from a recording of a sales call that turned to a sale, and it's like, this is exactly what you need to do. But that means that we're cookie cuttering the approach. Now, although sales is a cookie cutter for a salesperson to get results, when you go through our trainings and stuff, you realize it's the same process for pretty much everyone. But the customer doesn't feel that way. And sometimes when you give people scripts, it's like turning it into a cookie cutter approach where we just start treating everyone the exact same way. And that's a good thing from a systems point of view, but you got to be careful that you don't start to tarnish the results of making people feel special. Even though the process doesn't change, we need them to feel special in that sales process. And obviously sales teams start to lose that the more we script out exactly what they have to do and how they have to do it. So what's the better approach to this? Well, the better approach is to then look at train the reps on the goals of each call, train them on the conversational points. So what the conversation should achieve is more important than what exactly needs to be said. So why each step matters as well. So we really want to get these 3 things implemented where someone can go through that call and really they're understanding the goal in each call. They've got that conversation of, well, I need to get from here to here, achieve, but they may go on a few tangents and sideways steps, but it's always just trying to bring them back to what is the goals and outcomes that I can get on this call. So the goal might not be getting a sale today. It might be getting a follow-up call booked, or it might be getting a bit of value sent over to the customer. But it doesn't always have to be the goal of this call is to get money off their credit card. No, well, for most of our sales team, the goal is to leave them feeling better than when they got on the call. And then the next time we follow them up, it can sometimes mean that sales process becomes a build-on effect. And that comes back to pipeline as well. Sales teams that drive, just try and close them, doesn't always mean that you're going to make more deals. And sometimes when you let that sales process play its part and you have a really good system to follow up, we typically we get better results out of it, all right? Now, this allows reps to basically adapt naturally to the call. It allows them to qualify leads properly, actually really understand their situation. And then obviously from there, it allows them to control the conversation. So instead of having a script where they're just back through an exact structure, we're able to let them go on their tangent, have their talks, tell their stories, tell it their way. But obviously still following the principle of where you need them to get the call to. So teams that understand the purpose of the call and the purpose of why we do each thing, they're far better performing than teams that just memorize what they need to say, right? And that's what we're trying to get down to, is we've got to remove that idea. Now, if you're sitting there as a business owner right now, and you think that your team don't know what they're supposed to say, well, I would be not shocked to say that a lot of businesses don't even have scripts in the first place. They just hire someone to be like, answer the phone. They don't have a structure or a script at all. So sometimes putting that script in place is very valuable. So if you're sitting there right now and you don't have anything and you'd go, what would my team say if I answered the phone? Then obviously a bit of a script and a bit of structure would help. But that's, again, listen further to the future episodes. We've got another episode coming up next week that's going to answer that question for you. What specifically do you need to prepare when getting team started to be hired under your company? Track the right metrics. Now, I'm going to fly through this second half because this is, you've probably already got your head spinning about what you need to go back and implement for your team. You cannot manage your team if you can't measure your team. All right, so let's go. The key sales KPIs. What are we supposed to be tracking? All right, now we've got lists and reports that track hundreds and hundreds of metrics of everything that goes on in the sales process. But let's be honest, what's the most important things? We want to be tracking lead to conversion rate. How many leads do we get and how many convert? We then want to be tracking call to appointment ratio. So how many calls did we have to do to get an appointment booked? Then we're going to be tracking appointment show rate. So how many appointments did we book to how many show up? And then from there, we're going to be tracking how much revenue do we get per rep or how much revenue do we get per appointment. All right. So they're the 4 key metrics that we must track. Because if we're tracking those 4 key metrics in a sales process, we can identify where the issues are in that sales team. So the best practice is to basically go create a weekly scorecard. So it's basically just an Excel sheet, any software you can do. Sometimes this can be done in your CRM, but Excel sheet to keep it really simple. And you write out the metrics that need to be done. So how many consults were booked, how many were set to happen, how many showed up, how many no showed. And then that'll give us the percentage. At the end of every week, we can track that. Now, what we'll do in the article below, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'll actually put a photo in there that shows you exactly how that operates. So you can see an example report of what you could look at going and copying. Now, without these tracking, reps are guessing. They really don't know if they're performing or not. Managers are guessing. They don't know how to drive the team forward. And then obviously revenue is going to be leaking out. So you really don't know, hey, where is the bottlenecks in the sales process? So you don't know where to optimize if you don't know where the problems are. So again, go and download and have a look at those photos because they'll definitely be able to help you out further with exactly what you're looking for. Now, consistent coaching. We've got one more step after this that's really the most important, all right? So consistent coaching though, high performers develop through coaching, not talent alone. Our best salespeople we've hired, they don't get hired because they're fucking incredible salespeople. They're performing and they've been hired because their mindset was right and their commitment to the role and their commitment to learn and their coachability was right. With the right coaching and the right development, they've been able to become our top performers, right? And that's not just for my team, but also for the teams that we manage and work with. So effective coaching includes basically call reviews, role plays, real-time feedback, and then weekly improvement sessions. So when we look at that, we're sitting with our team, like sometimes we sit with our team every single day of the week, but otherwise at least 2 to 3 times a week. And we're going through calls, we're role playing with them to practice different scenarios and then real-time feedback with them. So these sort of things, like where you sit there and as they're on the call, they mute themselves while the other person's talking and you go, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. And that's sort of that real-time learning to be able to get them to evolve, right? And then obviously the weekly sessions, you just have to book it in and it's a non-negotiable that you just have to go and do it. So the result of this is obviously that skills improve continuously, confidence increases, and you're just going to see more consistency out of the team for doing this. Now, in order to create accountability, one of the most important things, teams perform best when expectations are clear. When someone knows what they've got to show up to for work and they know the reps they've got to put in, which is accountability, they know what they've got to do to be able to get the success for you, okay? Now, to ensure that your team has the right accountability, you need to basically set clear targets, regular check-ins, which is kind of like the weekly meetings that we speak about, and then obviously make sure that you've got defined consequences if targets are not met, as well as obviously aligned incentives. And these aligned incentives are going to be able to allow you to really, really drive forward on the success that you both get by them doing a good job. All right. Now, what this creates, it creates ownership, clarity, and motivation that your team know what they get out of it by what they put in, and that there's a fair exchange here of an accountability that as long as they're doing this success for you, your accountability is to obviously pay them more or whatever they get out of it. And then obviously the clear target of that is that they get to show up with peace of mind that as long as they hit these targets, you as a business owner or a sales manager are satisfied with what they've done. Accountability should drive revenue without micromanaging. If you have the right accountability set up, people will show up, get the fucking job done, they get out, they go home, right? You don't have to sit there over their shoulder. They get the freedom of being an adult and being successful and being a leader in their role without having to have you be the guy that sits there and goes, oh, I didn't do this, you didn't do that. And that's the most important thing about accountability. Let's wrap up. I hope today was very valuable. There's a lot of great points that we could expand on. We talk about this for 8 hours long, but the cost of weak sales management is everything to your business right now. You need to fix it. So you need to go and fix weak sales management. Now, the cost of it's going to be revenue volatility, high turnover, burned leads, and missed opportunity for growth. Now, if you're feeling that is you right now, it's a really good time to reach out and have a chat with us and see how we can help you further. But from there, let's obviously jump into the next steps. For leaders, what can you be doing to basically start improving your team? And what I want you to take away, again, this will be in the article below that we share. But audit your sales team this week. I want you to have a look at your hiring process. I want to be having a look at the training gaps. What could you be doing more to train the team? Efficiently, by the way, not just one-on-ones with every person, but efficient training. Metrics tracking. What metrics could you increase that you're tracking to get you better visibility of how the team's performing? Coaching systems. How can you get better growth from the team when it comes to coaching? And then the accountability structures that are available to make sure the team know what they need to show up for and do. Next episode, guys, we're going to be covering off some more exciting steps. I hope today was valuable. I hope you learned a little bit. I hope you got questioning about your current sales team. From here, obviously, if there is any questions, please reach out. We're more than happy to help. But otherwise, fantastic seeing you all again on the podcast. I look forward to speaking again next episode.